speed to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young, it has just begun as she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild. Now the morning is the afternoon. We lay awake in bed. The laughs so loud as the hours pass. We're gonna do it all again. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be, we're gonna be two hearts running wild. The moonlight, summer sky, it was the best we ever had. And we'll stay on forever. We'll never have regrets. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild. We're gonna be, we're gonna be two hearts running wild.
Hello, and good afternoon. I hope you're all doing very well today. At least I am. It's Wednesday. It is 7 minutes past 2 p.m. here, Central European Time. And, well, I hope a few more will pop in and hang out with us. At least that would be absolutely wonderful. I am just quickly, and that would be quickly, getting my end ready because I tend to follow my stream as well just to check that everything is running. So I just frogged the start of a hat because I decided I had to downsize in needles, and I learned that this yarn is a pain in the behind to frog. But that's what it is. I realized I needed some smaller needles because I found the stitching was a little bit on the looser end. Plus, I wanted to add a few more stitches in the round. I felt somehow it seemed shorter than I had anticipated it to be. So I only had done, I think, 4, maybe 5 rows. So it wasn't a horrible frog, but reality is this yarn is definitely not a yarn that I want to frog in the future. I learned that. So not super frog friendly, probably due to the woolen content, and it is a roving style. Absolutely, further that, a gorgeous yarn to work with. super soft. It said it needed 6 to 6.5 millimeter needles. I have 6 or I have 7. I didn't have a 6.5. Ideally, I would use a little bit larger than normal because obviously that I am slightly tight knitter. I tried the 7 and I feel that they are on the edge of maybe fitting or maybe being too big. So I decided to definitely downsize. And maybe that is due to this being a little bit of an airy yarn. So I put forth those needles should I decide to knit. But we also have the Ultimate Sacrifice shawl, which I have been working on um, since Monday. And this would currently be where we are at. I still have all of this yarn to add. So 2 bowls plus the rest of the cake. So there's a bit. Goal was to finish this shawl this week. Not necessarily by Friday, but just this week. So it can also be this weekend. So that's kind of the projects I'm currently working on, but I need to, I guess, make a decision. Should I go for the shawl or should I actually cast on for the hat or beanie that I want on it? Don't know if you have any preferences. I necessarily don't right now. I can start with one and continue on the other, but it doesn't really matter if it's either or, at least not for me right now. May just start with the shawl, and we can always, if we want to, if this gets boring, change to the knitting. Further than that, yeah, it's Wednesday. It's busy, but I still take time to wind down and hang out with you guys and do a little bit of crafting. So yeah, well, here I basically am. Let's hop to the double mode. And I'm actually ever so slightly surprised that my one mode seems so much stronger than the other. But let's see if we can get this one. Oh, that was a bit too far. We're a bit down here. So I'm only thinking maybe we need to change the lighting. That's maybe why this is so funky. So it either goes from, it might go really bright and then it goes dark. So that's maybe a tad too dark, isn't it? Like that, maybe. One more, like that, I think. Let me know if you wanted to change. That is basically the only thing I really can do right now. What we are doing right now is, I didn't that long ago, at the top of the round, I attached the cake again after the last ball. And I am currently just cranking out. I do have two medium blue and 2 dark blue in this chain, in this thread right now. I'm going to continue through the color change until I get 3 dark blues and 1 medium blue. And once I'm ending there, I will need to cut the yarn to add on the last ball I have. Well, I actually have 2 balls, but I have one here which has 1 strand of medium blue and 3 strands of dark blue until we go to the very dark one. And afterwards we finish. So theoretically, we only have 1 color change to go. Well, two color changes to go. But yeah, so we are definitely closing up on it, but we still have a fair bit to crochet. And every row is increasingly longer. For this row, I started on last night, I think. I just increased again here up in the fans. So now we are increasing from, so there are 7 double crochets on each side of this tip on the fan. I do believe the pattern stops at 5, if I'm not wrong. But that is not super important. There is the benefit of being able to continue the pattern by just keep on going with the increases. So I'll make now 4 rows with the 7 double crochets on each side, or each tip contains technically 14 plus 2 chains. And once that's done, and I will definitely get through those before I'm finished, we will increase to 8, and we'll just keep that rhythm going. The only thing I may consider is if I am unsure, like if I am starting on an increased row before and I have little yarn left, and that is the increased row, I may option to weigh the yarn and consider if I can do the increase, or I may consider just adding and saying, okay, instead of doing every 4 rows an increase, I may just add the 5th row without an increase and then just finalize it like that. I do believe I've done that once before, and that still turns out as a rather pretty item. So I'm definitely also open for that. And further than that, I am just cracking along, and I hope that people will come and keep me with company. It is early for some people. It is 8 in the morning on the East Coast in the US. 8:15 to be more exact. In Europe, it is set in the afternoon, early afternoon. And if you are in Australia, it is towards late evening, and the Kiwis are mostly fondly asleep right now, at least should be fondly asleep. Meanwhile, I saw some great news for the US people regarding Hobbii, and that is that Hobbii has organized it by using a courier that will help sorting the tariffs. That means that Hobbii will be charging your tariffs and pay them via the courier directly, so that they do not need to get extra charged at customs, where they may option for the flat fee tariff. So that is super positive. That really made me really happy for the US people. For the mortal souls like me, I used to do a lot of giveaways in the past, and I temporarily stopped those, mainly also due to getting out of a job and other things. But I wouldn't be able to do them and send them to the people in the US because currently my postal service does not even ship small packages to the US due to the tariff situation and the removal of the de minimis. So I'm quite curious as to what's going to happen, but it's temporarily been suspended. If I would be able to do something similar via my postal service and pre-charge it, that would be awesome. But I'm not really sure where we're heading, I guess. It's a time will show when it comes to that. Quite some uncertain times ahead. But yeah, else there's not much to say. I am just cracking along here on the Ultimate Sacrifice shawl, and it would be so awesome if we finish this week. And then, of course, I have this idea of starting a hat, which may end up starting later regardless. Just because it's sometimes nice to have a different project than crocheting. It's quite repetitive what I'm doing on this shawl, but it is turning out absolutely gorgeous. The mistake I did Monday, I still have been unable to find, and it still seems to hold up pretty good. So I guess I feel comfortable about it. Just when it happened, I wasn't too confident. I had to weave in some ends, and I cut the wrong end, the one I had not fully weaved in yet. But that still seems to have not come undone. So of course, I'll just continue, and I will, by recommendation, and I think that's probably true, block this item, and if that handles and go through the blocking, then I am expecting it will be all fine. So last row was an increase row, which means that I do not need to increase stitches on the tip. I just need to make the regular ones, which I am doing. I do have a stitch marker in the tip just for easy recognition. I can easily see it normally, but this is like making me to not think about when I get there. I have lots of stitch markers to help me not think. That is a quite typical Stina thing to do. Anything where I can do something that prevents me to remember to think is good, because obviously that means that I can focus on doing other things, such as chatting with you guys. Yep. And this is quite surely not the last ultimate sacrifice I'm making. It's just one of many. But what neck shawl will I be making next? We will probably need to make a decision on that as well. I need to find some yarns because I do want to start on a new shawl at some stage. And I think we're going with the red teapot atelier shawls again because, as I said, she has designed so many gorgeous shawls, and I haven't gone through the whole list of them yet. And I do have this idea that I want to have them all done at some stage. So yeah, I would need to just find some time, sit down and get crafting at some stage. I have finished so far the Jasmine tea shawl, the Ceylon tea shawl, the Darjeeling tea shawl, and the Pure tea shawl. That is projects that I have already finished from her designs. And I saw that she is designing something new, which looks absolutely gorgeous as well. But right now we are just cracking along. And that is easy. It's 2 double crochets, chain 2 double crochets, and that is done in the chain space. Then I'll move on to the next chain space where I do 2 double crochets, chain 2 double crochets. You move over to the next chain space, etc. That is the tip bit of this shawl. Then eventually we will go to the tips, where we will be increasing, because this row I am doing the increases. Good morning, Jay. Absolutely wonderful to see you here. I hope you have grabbed a good cup of coffee or tea and feel like hanging out for a bit. I must admit, for once, I actually don't have a warm beverage because when I was preparing for this live, I was like, this is actually getting warmer this afternoon than I thought it would be. And I decided for just a lemonade. But I should say, let's not forget to hydrate, because hydration is important. This was not the right one. I forgot to check something, so I'm just quickly gonna check in on that. Yep, that should still be good. So yeah, for this we are just continuing as far as this color goes. Plus we will do the first bit of the next color change. And this is simply to prevent cutting more yarn than needed. I am generally trying to cut as little as possible to get all those colors worked in, because the more I cut, the more ends I have to weave in. None of us really likes to weave in ends. I think we all just do like the process of the craft, but I don't know many people that enjoy sewing in ends. I haven't met a lot of people who like that. We are getting closer here to where we start increasing on the fan. I just have one more left of the 2 double crochets, chain 2 and 2 double crochets. For those curious, it is an Hobbii Azalea cake. Actually, it is 2 cakes that I'm combining. I had leftovers of one cake, which I'd use for something else, which I am combining into this cake. So normally the cakes are 200 meters to 200 to 800. 200 grams to 200 to 800 meters, which is 7 ounces to 860 some odd yards. But I'm adding roughly 1.7 ounces more / about 200 meters, so 220 some odd yards. But it's not all the same coloration, so I had to cut up the yarns and the cakes a bit to account for being able to add these extras. So far it's going good, with the exception of the one time I had to sew in an end and I cut off the wrong end, but still not been able to find it, so I guess it's a good thing, because it means it should hold. We will find out if it holds when I block it. And if that still holds, there's nothing to worry about. I will be really, really sad if it doesn't, because, well, that will just be sad. Enough said. Enough said, because that's still quite a bit of work further down the road that I would be really sad by seeing unravel. So yeah, so now we started on the tips, and I do have the increases here. So normally in between, I skip 4 stitches. Now I only skip 2 to be able to fit in the extra stitch. Following row, I will be skipping the 4, because then we have the increase finished by this row. Also, these tips I do not work quite as fast as I do the others, because it's not worked in the chain space. It's worked in the actual stitches, so I need to make sure I catch them. Of course, the top of the tip is a chain 2 double crochets, chain 2 double crochets in the chain space. But there are still like 5 of those 7 stitches are not in a chain space. They are already in the stitches themselves. So I need to make sure I catch those stitches, of course. But yeah, pretty much. So I did some more work on this week after we ended the live, and I prepared for for a new beanie, knit beanie. So I do have my knitting needles laying just over there, in the sense that I felt like doing something else. That would, though, if I do pick up the needles, be the quite first time that I do knit live. It is a project I still need to cast on. And it's straightforward. It's just rip knit until what, 11 inches or so, and then it's closing off, more or less. But yeah, I have to admit, this morning I felt extremely tired. It was really a challenge for me to quote unquote get going. I had a meeting at work. We made plans. So there's a clear list of tasks I need to get done. But I do believe we should be good. I can't believe we are almost. Imagine this, ladies. On Monday, it's the 1st of September. I can't believe it's already the 1st of September. Like, genuinely, the time of August, it's flown by like, I don't know. It's just been fast, gone. It's really been flying by as a hurricane, I guess. Most people seems to be busy today. Not many chatters. I do also realize, maybe compared to how I sit, it's a little bit dark what I'm working with, and I also have a dark shirt on. That really does not help. I do apologize for that. But I realize this is quite dark too compared to where I am. I don't know. Yeah. I guess we just reached that part of the project where where it's almost too dark, but you can see that I'm working on something, right? And I'm not really sure if I can make it much, because if I turn it darker, the light, I think it will fade further away, and if I turn it lighter, I don't think that's an option either. So yeah, it would have been better if I had a real head face view for you guys to see. But I do not have a setup for being able to do that. I would need to go hunting for some practicalities to be able to do something like that. Maybe one day out in the future. Who knows? Another thing for me, if I could finish this, obviously, this month, would be that it's a full cake. Done and dusted. It looks really good on the yardage consumed for the month of August. So I'd love for this to succeed, obviously. I think it's slowly about a year ago, bit less than a year ago still, when I made my first Ultimate Sacrifice shawl. And that, my friends, turned out So gorgeous. This I would probably need to block twice because I think it will be too big to block on the mats I have now. I don't think I will have enough space for it, to be honest. But maybe, who knows? Maybe I'll be positively surprised. It takes up less space than I thought, but last time, when I did it with an 800-meter cake, it's possible, but I'm not sure if it's when we get to the 1,000 meters, if there's room within the mats I have available. But else, it's simple. I'll just block it twice in the sense of I'll divide it in the middle and I'll get it blocked. Just one moment. It was not sitting very nicely with my ear, so had to adjust. But yeah, we still have a bit to go. Right now I am pulling it from the cake, and the cake is in a box just next to me. Not completely on the floor, it's raised a bit, but it is next to me. I am doing a center pull from the cake. So what I did was, the other cake I had left over, I took the dark end to get this start creation of the center, this dark center. And then I went to do the center pull of the original cake, and I worked from the inside out, and that helps to get this sort of illuminated effects. It does go quite nice. Hello, good morning, Revenant. I hope you're having a great morning. Happy time zone. Yeah, well, it is definitely a happy crochet zone right now. As I said, I actually did have, I had an extra ball of yarn because I had prepared to knit. But the thing is that I had to frog the first few rows, but here's a part of the ball, and I need to cast on. Because I had cast on 7mm hooks, or not hooks, 7mm needles, and I started the first like 4 or 5 rows, but I came to the conclusion that I needed smaller needles and a few more stitches based on how it was acting up. So I frogged it, and it's not fun to frog. It's not a frog friendly yarn because it is roving style and slightly so fluffy due to the wool content that yeah, and I think it's the roving style that's probably messing up a little bit, and that is why I think I need to needle down a little bit. Also, they do recommend 6 to 6.5mm. I wanted to have done the 6.5, but I don't have those, so that's why I optioned for the 7, because I know I do have tight tension, but it still seems like it's not doing the yarn full justice, so that is why I am now going for the 6mm setup. Revenant says, I had an unhappy crochet moment yesterday. Discovered I skipped a granny cluster 2 rows back on my Halloween blanket, so I had to go back about 600 stitches. That is a little bit more than just an unhappy moment. That is horrible to have to go that far back. Oh my goodness, that felt like me Monday when I was doing a row and a half back on this, and I don't even count the stitches, but that was still felt like many before it caught up. And I don't think that was 600 even. That is the feeling of why didn't I pay enough attention to actually not make these mistakes, and that just cost me a lot of time. Hello, happy sappy. Good afternoon. I am having a quite good day, thank you. It's Wednesday. I was quite tired this morning, I have to admit that. Like, my day just didn't want to get going. I really felt like sleeping. So, I talk about it, I get all yawny, I'm sorry. And I was really like, oh my goodness, I just want to go back to bed. And if it wasn't because I had a meeting and more other things to do and not really having time for it, I would probably like had this been tomorrow where I had have a little bit more time on my hands, I might have actually have option to say, okay, forget it. I'm just gonna take a power nap of 30 minutes and I'll be fine. Um, so tomorrow I have the time to do it. Um, today I don't. So I just plowed through it. I grabbed the peach and I put over some tea and I did my best. Um, yeah. Now I'm just on lemonade. Cheers. Um, Sabi says she's having a crochet break. I have been making pot holders, 3mm tight cotton stitches. My hand are sore. I can imagine. I can imagine. I have some yarn on the way for some of the pot holders that I am working on. Which is currently in my VIP pile because it's not as a finished project. Finished. Um, ta-ta. And I'm still really flabbergasted over the fact that it's almost September. Gosh, it has been running so fast this year. I have to say, of course, I feel it runs pretty quick with my new job, so that doesn't make it easier either. And maybe because, you know, the fact that I've been able to take it with me on the go has made me not in the same way realizing how quick time goes. You know, it's not as tedious as my old job. My old job felt like ages sometime. At the same time, you would like still see how the time would fly by. We are almost at the end of this row, which means that we can turn around and work back. At the very start of this row is where I did my last um, color change, and well, it's not completely color changed. I actually just joined the yarns from the last ball I had put on Monday during the live, and the cake. I am currently working out of this cake standing next to me. And as I said, I do apologize for this not being super visible. But the light apparently sucks. 2, 4, 6, 7. 4, 6, 7, so that's good. Ramadan says, I'm doing video game chores at the moment, but we'll go back to crocheting shortly. Video game chores, like collecting your dailies and so on. Oh, no, 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 no. Look, Stina. Turn it the other way around. That's easier for what you're doing. Sabi says the cotton was some Temu milk cotton I got years ago. I didn't know what to use it for. I did a swatch and 90-degree wash to test if it would hold up, and it did. Pot holders is then. Ah, okay. I thought actually the milk cotton was more of an acrylic yarn, so I'm surprised it did like the 90 degrees wash. Roland says weekly stuff for World of Warcraft. I used to have a friend that played World of Warcraft. I haven't really seen much and done much with that game for years. And there is a few mobile games that I do play from time to time, but computer games is not something I've played a lot. I do have a doses of what is that called? It's called Magic Arena. So Magic the Gathering, the arena. They have a nice setup based on the card game. From like the card game was pretty popular in my youth. I do have that, and then I do have had periods where I've played some Path of Exile. But I am at a stage right now where I might have to admit that my computer cannot really handle it because it's getting old and needs replacement. So I probably need to consider investing in a new computer within reasonable time frame. That said, on the computer aspect, it's also a financial expense. And I may need to consider first doing that in the new year, depending on how things flow. That's just, the regular things of life. No, it's rougher to work with than cotton. Almost like it's spun tighter, but it works just as well as any other normal cotton. Okay. I'm surprised. I thought milk cotton really was, yeah, that it was an acrylic. Raven says I played a lot of Magic over the last 10 years, but I'm on an extended break right now. It just got too expensive keeping up with all the releases. Yeah, I don't have all the releases, so I'm just doing the freestyle play. But if you want to keep up reasonably, you almost need to play daily. That's valid. I had a whole period with my last job where I barely played it because I simply just didn't have the time to do it. And I optioned to basically decrease. And then I started picking it a bit back up when I got unemployed last year around October, November. I picked it back up again. And now I wouldn't say that I'm playing daily, but I am periods. But also we are at a bit of the same level there. My computer does not exactly think it's too fun because it's really getting old. My computer currently is 5+ years old. So it is telling me that it is finding life a bit exhausting. I think that is the best way to say it. So yeah, I need to look into investing in a new, but I am not 100% sure what the budget says for that right now. I will need to check, to be honest. Because that will go through the company, and I'm quite sure right now my company is negative. Yep, it's negative. So, which is not bad. It's I had some other investments, which means that I don't have to do those investments later. And I did those investments as a pre-expectation of the US wanting to add the tariffs. But that means that I will need some income first. 2, 4, 6, 7. So I think it's a 2026 project, getting a new computer. And then force my current to survive until then. Sounds like a good plan? I'd say so. It's like with everything that Hasbro buys, they love squeezing it in for money. I used to love Magic the Gathering in the 90s and early zeros. Yeah, this is like the online version, which is kind of okay. You can play for free. But obviously, if you want to have more rewards, etc., eventually you will have to pay a little bit of cash. And I just refuse to do it. Ah, yes, paper magic would get pricey, definitely, definitely. This is the online version of it. So you technically don't, you can pay to get the pre-releases, and they like release new content every 4 months, I think. You can 3 months, every 3 months, sorry. You can pay extra to get that in advance, but you can also technically just collect them. And you get rewards also via packs, etc., depending on how well you play. So it is actually possible to play it as a free to play player. Booster pack used to be lunch money. Now it's weekly allowance plus money priced. Yeah. Uh, they know how to squeeze money out of us, don't they? Or they're at least trying their best. And that it doesn't really matter what game. Games are also made to increase your playtime. So the longer you stay in the game, the more likely you are to spend money. That's basically how it works these days. 2, 4, 6, 7. Yep, it's good. Yeah, it's the arena. Magic the Gathering, the arena. I just played on my computer though. But like with everything, like this is the sort of Magic the Arena is free, but if you want to easier do things or get more rewards, obviously eventually it's incentivized in the sense of you can pay to progress quicker. Not really sure why my chat keeps this big list of things. I do not know why. There we go. Do, 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 do. 2, 4. Revenant says, I find that the arena just makes me unreasonably angry at the other players who uninstall it. If I am in person, I'm well sure, but it's because just an avatar drives me nuts when they time out. Oh yeah, the timeout bit. There are genuinely players who will intentionally, when they see they are having the losing end, do timeouts. And then hope that you will quit the game because of impatience of waiting, because that will give them an easy win for the rewards. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. There are people doing that. It's crazy. There are some pure idiots. um, yeah, that's scummy. But I'm honestly, there are people that's trying to um, use it like that. It's just saying, okay, it's a timeout. So if you know the worst thing, you have to wait for like a minute or two. And I'm not gonna give people away stuff for free like that. Nope, 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 not my plan. Sabi says she used to play a lot of chess. I used to play chess when I was younger as well, but that was without fancy timers and, against my dad or whoever. Chess is a really nice game to get to think a bit. Maybe I should ask my dad if he want to play chess once. If I go back home, that would be nice. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Be right back. Just gonna get some more water. Nice. Good plan. Keep the hydration up. If you haven't hydrated yet during this live, don't forget to take something to drink. And now when I'm talking about it, I should probably also hydrate myself. As I said, I'm on a lemonade today. And that's because it was slightly warmer when I started this live than I had anticipated it to be. So when I was preparing for it, I was like, I should boil some tea. And I was like, I don't feel like tea, it's warm. And now I sort of feel it's cooling down a bit, so I don't know if it's really that warm. Yeah, saftevent. But they call it lemonade in Dutch. Limonade. But it's we would consider it saftevent, like pre-made. And if it runs dry, I do have a bottle of 7-Up as well. If we get there, it could also be before then that I will need to use the loo. The interesting part is though, even though I had it really warm like an hour ago, I'm starting to feel a little bit chilly on my arms. Not like cold cold, because I do know definitely if I go outside on the terrace in the sun, it's like bloody warm. Because here the sun is shining today. We could check the weather for my local region here. As I said, I don't live too far off Nijmegen. It's about 5 to 7 kilometers, depending on where in the city. Probably like 7. I'm going there Friday actually for an appointment. And it says that the weather of Nijmegen is currently partly cloudy. Well, it's more sunny than cloudy, I will say. With a temperature of 26 degrees Celsius or 87 degrees Fahrenheit. The wind is blowing from south at 6 miles per hour and the current humidity is 45. It's one of those words, cordial, that they only know in English only if they're from the UK and Ireland or New Zealand and Australia. Americans just know Kool-Aid powder or lemonade. Yeah. It's it's a liquid and I just mix it with about 1 to 10 water, so 1 part liquid and then 10 parts water ish or so, and that is a lovely drink. It is tropical fruits. That goes well along with the peaches that I ate earlier today. I've really gotten to become a fan of these wild peaches. They're like flat peaches. And that's really gotten something that I've started enjoying. Also, the apple harvest started here in the Netherlands, so I will start to look for our regional apples soon because those are usually quite tasty. I do really like a good L-Star apple. The L-Star apples are good for a good all-purpose apple, and they are originating from this region where I live. And there is actually lots of fruit farmers. They would usually run the L-star sort of apples because obviously it's a regional thing. Or cherries, and some also have pears. Quite often that would be maybe like conference. It's 23 degrees today in Denmark on Mors or Moser. According to Revenant, Americans do have concentrate. Oh yeah, yeah, that could probably be it. I don't. I guess I don't think too much about it. I would have no clue if this has seen the sight of fruit. I admit I did not read on the label, but what I do note is that it is 0 added sugars. um, like sugar-free thingy, low calorie. Good morning, Suzanne. Wonderful to have you with us. In the New Jersey region of the US is currently sunny, of temperature with 61 degrees Fahrenheit or 16 degrees Celsius. Wind is blowing from west-northwest at 10 miles per hour, and the current humidity is 71. Sabi should be back in a few once she gets her internet sorted, I guess. Yeah, you could try, or you could maybe, I don't know if it would go for Nykøbing Mors, we could try. It does. It says conditions cloudy with a temperature of 22 degrees Fahrenheit or 72 degrees Fahrenheit or 22 degrees Celsius. Wind is blowing from south at 13 miles per hour. Current humidity is 57. Cool. Yeah, it's a little bit warmer here. Yesterday was humid. Yesterday it was like, and it was also still quite warm when I got home from the club yesterday evening. So at like 10 in the evening was still 20 plus degrees here. It's now cooled down quite a bit. Because this morning was remarkably cooler. But a good late summer would be fine because in 2 weeks' time I'll be in Denmark. So that would be nice if it's just half decent temperature. Zappy says not too far off what my outdoor sensor tells me. I'm surprised it's so accurate. Well, apparently, I don't know where Nightbot gets his weather information from, but it seems reasonably accurate most of the time. So that's pretty cool, actually. I am also looking forward for when this one is done, and I will cry if the mistake I made Monday will become a problem. But so far, I've not been able to find that end that I cut by accident, so I guess I'll be fine. It's so gorgeous, and it's even better once fully finished, because it's gonna be bigger and bigger and bigger. I still haven't found it, and I've looked multiple times. So I guess it could be worse. It's my conclusion. And I will cry if it falls apart when I block it. I will cry because that's like gonna be a real pain in the rear to fix. Then I'm like not sure it can be fixed. So maybe, as I said, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. You can hope. Oh, I'm sorry for the yawning. It was not very nice. One day you'll find it when you least expect it. Yep. But we will see. As I said, if it lasts through the blocking process and I still can't find it by then, I'm probably fine. You can always tie it off. I will have to. The thought of having to unravel something where I've woven in the ends is just not gonna happen. But I also can't block it without weaving in the ends, so I'm just hoping it's gonna be fine. But I haven't found it, so maybe it's indeed not as bad as one would think. That's the best thing I can hope for. That I worked it in enough with when I was adding them. But since I've not been able to find it, I'm like, it can't be too bad, right? Like, it's really my conclusion. I also should have been able to find it by then. What did you cut on Monday? I cut the wrong end. So I had two pieces I had to sew in. Like I have the join of the cake here with the end of the one of the small balls. And what I did was I had woven in half of that. And I was going to cut that end and then take on the other half and weave in, but I cut the wrong end. So I cut the end I hadn't woven in. But I can't find it. I can't find that end. Like anywhere. So I guess it's not too bad. That's my only conclusion. That maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was. I'm in need of some inspiration. Or what's your favorite hook size, yarn to work with, and pattern you've made? Trying to stash bust. My favorite hook size is probably my 3.5mm or 4mm, depending on the project. I do admit I also don't mind bigger hooks because also often with a bigger hook size, the project works up faster. Me like very much. But if I want to do more intricate work, you're kind of forced to hook size down. Much below 3mm, I don't like because it gets too teeny tiny. I always enjoy working with cakes, but I also like a good different yarn. Like I'm really looking forward to knit up this. Susan says you said you're very proficient in weaving in, and so hopefully it will stay in place. That is my conclusion. That maybe I knitted in, weaved in the other end so well that it will help holding on to the end that I should have woven in. Or maybe if I was really good, I took like half of each or something. I don't know. That is an wool acrylic yarn from a local yarn store here, or local. Actually, it's more like it's a local. I wouldn't call it a Dollar Tree store, but a local. Just a moment. If I can just do these 4 stitches, so I'll find the yarn again. And we can always change. Like I can cast on, and we can start knit if we would like to do that instead of just crocheting. I just want to get to here because now we're done with the increase bit and I just need to do the easy quick crochet bit. Let me just quickly check that I didn't do anything stupid here because I've gotten to a stage where I really, really do not want a frog. Very good. Cool. I'll put this away for a bit. This is a soft, wonderful, squishy yarn. It is, I have 2 balls of them, which I will need if I want to make a hat. As you can see, this one is the frog piece, because I needed some smaller needles. This is the Vibra Lena yarn, and it is squishy soft. And it's coming with this, it has a photo here of the variegated colors that it will come into. I love this coloration. It is, let's see, it's easy to read on this label. It's 70% acrylic, 30% wool. It's 50 grams, so 1.75 ounces to 80 meters, which is about like what, 87 to 88 yards. Made in Turkey, so it's a Turkish soft wool. It's variegated and it's rowing. They recommend, so they say we can wash at 40 degrees. Do not iron, do not bleach, do not tumble dry, can be dry cleaned. They recommend 6 to 6.5 millimeter needles or hooks. And if I wanted to make a long sleeve sweater, I would need 10 of these balls to make one, which I don't have. I only have these 2. I do have 2 others in a different colorway. So I did, for this yarn, I did cast on 7 millimeter hook needles, because I was like, maybe I need to do that, because I do know I have a slight tight tension. But I admit, when I was looking at the tension, or not the tension, but just generally what I had knit up, I felt it was a little bit too airy. So, and I don't have 6.5 millimeter needles, well, or hooks, needles. Oh, that's a lie. I do have 6 millimeters in these bamboo double pointed needles, but trust me, I'm not gonna knit the whole hat in double pointed needles. I'm gonna be like, heck no. So I found my 6 millimeters, and I'm gonna do that with this nice short. Should be possible. Did that last time around. That went fine. With the swivel and built swivels. But to do this, and I also, in worst case, I do have one cable that's slightly of a bit so longer, which I could consider. Actually, I should maybe consider that, because honestly, this one might be just on the edge. I think I'll throw on that. And I also need to put on an end if we are gonna cast on this. I don't know, we could do that. Let me know if you have a preference. Oh, there's my wire, and I need an end for the cast on process. I don't know, do you have preferences, recommendations? Should I not wire up? It's not that much difference, to be honest, but it might just give me slightly more workspace. Plus, I am gonna cast on more stitches than I had just before. So that should probably work with this wire, the longer one. And that would then make it a little bit more, it would just make it slightly ever so nicer to work with. So let's do that. Let's do that. The worst thing that can happen is that I just have to transfer wire, because I'm not convinced after having it cast on. This is the second knit I've done with these square ones, and I have to say I do actually like them, and I am very, very much in love with those from Knit Pro as well, which I have a set of upstairs, not for me, but for my mom. I can fetch them if you want to see them. Actually, I should do that. I could do that, but I don't have a circular tool to like make it short enough. But if you just hold on in a minute, and we'll play a little bit with this yarn. Let's do that. So I'm just gonna be right back. I'm gonna fetch those needles so you can have a look at it.
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young and it's just begun as she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be two hearts running wild. Now the morning is the afternoon. We lay awake in bed. The laugh so loud as the hours pass. We're gonna do it all again. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull the stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top. We're gonna be.
Hello, hello, hello. I just decided to grab my coat when I was at it as well. Let's just put that over here. So, I did shopping for my mom. Let's put it like this. My mom paid for them. And they are for my mom. Because she actually wanted the swivel bits for her own knit pro sets. And I talked to her about these cubics, which is quite nice, especially if you have a tendency of arthritis. But I have to admit, I do actually enjoy holding on the cubics. So these are the regular ones, the deluxe needles, interchangeable needle set from Knit Pro J'adore Cubics, 13 centimeters, 5 inches, set of 7 with the swivels. I think I'm wanting a similar set, but I want them shorter, the shorter version, so the special sized ones, so they're a bit shorter. But yeah, I got this full set. And they do make these. I'm trying to open it. I don't know if my mom might be watching this in the background or if she's sound asleep. She has been a bit tired today, which is not unreasonably given that she had chemo treatment yesterday. Comes in a little nice box like this. On the back side, you have a zipper where you have the wires. And she had some really old Knit Pro, and her old Knit Pro wires fit on these. So therefore, I expect these new Knit Pro wires also fit on her old Knit Pro needles. And she wanted the swivels, but when I talked about these cubics and how they're good for the hands, she was like, yes, please. And the thing is, we could get this set like more than 100 crowns cheaper than in Denmark by getting them via Amazon and getting them shipped to me at my home. So I'm just bringing them to Denmark next time in 2 weeks' time. So this is opening. They have this lovely block with them in. And here we have the needles. And they are gorgeous. The lighting here is horrible, to be honest. So rather almost, actually I'd say, could we flip this around? Amazing to think that my own webcam gives a better view. Normally that is not the case. And they come here in 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 7, and 8 millimeters. And The 8mm are nicely, or US 11 is nicely printed on the wood, as well as here on the metal piece. And this wood feels amazing. Really, this is an amazing feel. I'd love to knit with these. I would. But, and I think I would even have asked to use them if the cable was short enough to do what I want to do, and they are not. They are too long, and I don't want to knit with magic loops if I don't need it. Henceforth, I use my others. And I am putting them on my wish list, but for the short version, they have the they're like a slightly bit shorter. So these are 13 centimeters from tip to end. I think they do look quite similar to these, so that must be with including the attachment. Yeah, they're slightly bit longer than these metal ones, and getting them just 1 or 2 centimeters shorter would be really nice for needing something small in the round, like sleeves or hats, etc. But they just feel so amazing. It's an amazing feel. And yeah, if you do have tendency of arthritis or just generally something with the hands, these will be more comfortable to knit with. I genuinely believe that's true. When I was in Hobbii, I was in the Hobbii store like 2 weeks ago, a bit more than 2 weeks ago. I didn't record anything because nothing really had changed. I had hoped they gotten all the Halloween yarns, etc. in the store, but nope. It was just whatever was there last time, and they had moved one shelf around. That was it. Then, you know, what did I want to say? I was in the Hobbii, and there was also a lady saying, "Oh yeah, I heard these cubics are better for like if you have arthritis, etc." And that seems to be the general conception of things. I do think I hold nicer of them compared to round. This is the yarn, by the way, in a nicer view. Ta-ta! Because somehow it's just, I think it's generally it's the lighting from up here that is not being kind at all. So I'm just trying to see if I can get the different coloring on it, but maybe like this. Hella says, I am awake and I'm listening and I'm watching. Okay, so now you've seen them, and I really like the feel of them. So I'm a tiny bit jealous. But I will definitely get the special shorter length, and I will have to get shorter cables as well, swivel cables. So that is the thought. I have a full set of Symphony, so good to know the wires fit. Yeah, they do. They do. The wires will fit both ends. Yeah. Sabi says got all mine for free because I worked at the store where some had stolen all the wires out of the kits, so we had to throw them out. I asked if I could have them, and I could, so I just bought the wires. That's awesome. On AliExpress, there are wires that fits. Good to know. Yeah, they do have special lengths. They also have like super short length for like if you work on sleeves. They're like 5 centimeters, including the joint, which is crazy. Um. That would be a question for Hella, actually, how much we ended up paying for them. 540, maybe? Give me a moment. I'll do a quick math calculation based on estimated exchange rate. 450. I think 450 Danish crowns maybe for the set. 460. Somewhere in between. And I think in Denmark, the cheapest were on Rito for 570 maybe on sale. So it was a good solid 120 Danish crowns to discount. So we still saved like 120 Danish crowns. So 120 Danish crowns is like 15, 16 euros. So that's more like 20-ish USD currently, a bit more, for the whole set, by getting them shipped to me in the Netherlands, and I'll just take them with me home. I got one of her short cables with me to test, and that's why I can say that they fit, interfit. Yeah. So I did meanwhile change this over. I did take the little bit longer cable in the hope that it will be a little bit nicer to knit with, hopefully. And I thought, why not just now when we are here together, because we're talking about this absolutely gorgeous yarn. It is gorgeous. To cast it on. You're quite welcome. Yeah, they're quite nice. I got these on Temu. Lots of stitch markers. What I am going to do when I'm casting on is basically using the stitch markers to help me keep track. Because I need to cast on 80 stitches. Technically, I need to cast on, well, I need to cast on 80, but I'll cast on 81. Because I've learned that when I work in the round, then if I cast on the extra, then for the last stitch when I join them, I knit on, I take 2 stitches together. 453.09 Danish crowns. Yeah, it was a good price. So that was via Amazon rather than any of the other places. I don't know how Amazon does shipping to Denmark, but I do have an Amazon account and I get free shipping because I am so kind to pay for Prime. Because I do watch Prime. These days I am binge watching Bones. But yeah. So there are different methods of casting on. There's the double end casting on, etc. I've found that I really enjoy the sort of crochet method of casting on, which is basically I'll make the, what is it called? Not the magic ring, but slip knot. I make a slip knot. I'll insert my end with the wire through that slip knot, and I will take and hold the yarn, and what I do is, this is gonna sound crazy, I'm gonna crochet on or add on the stitches with my other needle, stitch by stitch, and this ensures that I never run out of yarn with my other end. And basically what I do is I let's see, now this went a bit loose. I go in with my needle in the loop, then I'll pick up the yarn and I'll pull it through. And I pull it a little bit extra through, and then, whoopsie daisy, I'll put it over that end. And then I have my first stitch, or well, I do have 2 stitches. Then in that stitch, I'll insert my needle, pull out a loop, which I'll bring up and put on the needle. And I'll do that for however many stitches I need. And my experience is I'll never run out of yarn. It works up fine and nicely of everything I've done so far. So that is basically what I've continued doing since. So it is a bit of a more specific way of doing it. Yeah, that is the most recent I've done. Back in the days when I was a child, I would do the 2 stitches and cast them on and so on, but this kind of works out for me. Sabi says she uses German Amazon, but the prices aren't favorable because it's either expensive in shipping And no prime offerings here. Nope. The benefits, I guess, of being Dutch. I don't know. So yeah, due to that, I offered said, hey, now when it's so cheaper here, it makes more sense to just have it shipped via Prime. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Then I need to wind out a little bit of yarn here, and I need to prepare my first stitch marker, because I'll just do every 10 I'll place a stitch marker, because if I have to stop for whatever reason, it's counting 10 stitches back is not a problem, but counting 80 stitches back is going to be a real pain. Why is this yarn splitting on me? There it is. So I'll add on a stitch marker like that, and we'll continue. That was 1, 2, 3, oop, 4, oopie daisy, 5, 6, 7, 8, I believe. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yep, correct. But yeah, I'm not the most avid knitter. It's just something I've recently started doing again. And I do enjoy it, definitely. I have to say, this rowing style, and because it's so fluffy, that is why I must have gone a haze with everything, basically, with the knitting size, needle size. Did I just say 10 or 8? Now I need to count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Stitch mark already. Sabi says, I'm too impatient for knitting these days. I learned to knit first as a child, but I enjoy crocheting more. Both. It kind of depends. I have moments where I actually do enjoy the process of knitting. But generally, I think I also enjoy crochet more. And I think with crochet, you can make, or you can easier make more intricate designs. 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Yay, that was the first, like, what, 30? Ronan says the blanket I had to frog is back about 120 centimeters or 50 inches per side. That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh my goodness, that's painful, frog. That is no fun. That is crazy, my friend. That would have been a painful frog. Oops, daisy. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. With being number 10 means that we have now 40 stitches. So we are halfway. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We are halfway. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I wonder what they're doing outside. They're making noises again. This should be 50 if I calculated correctly. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, and 10, 20, 40, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 once that gets on. Let's get a little bit more yarn. I did lose a few meters or a single meter or two of this yarn when I frocked it back because it's snagged. And this yarn is, as I said, so it's super fluffy, but yet when I squeeze it, it gets quite thin again. So while it seems to be a thicker needle, I think it still does work up nice on a thinner, also because it is, as I said, roving style. So it does have a few pieces on it where it's a little bit thinner than some of the others. I can definitely see where I cast on here that it's I think a 6 is actually a good solid guess for the needles I need. And that 7 was too big. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. But that is, yeah, that's not fun, having to frock that far back. So I'm happy I only reached to make a couple of rounds of this. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Because I would really have hated to frock this multiple rounds back. I would probably not have done it because this yarn is just not frock friendly. Obligatory pick, so I didn't have them. Here's the proof. Let's see. Let's see. Oh my goodness. It is gorgeous though. But that's not the hobby. What Halloween yarn is this? Or is it just a random roving yarn, not roving, variegated yarn you found? For those being curious who is not easily able to jump, let me pop over to my other view. This would be the blanket we're talking about that had to be frocked back. I don't know how many rows. In any case, a lot of stitches. I love the greens. Greens and browns, nice mix. It's all natural toned. colors that usually work pretty well with my skin. It is called the Hirschner's Witch's Brew Halloween Sparkle Yarn. Okay. Meanwhile, I've cast on another few stitches. Still not there. Still need 5 more, and then we should be at 70 if I calculated correct. 2, 3. So what we are gonna do is I am gonna double check that I do have this 10 for this increase. 2, 4, 6. I do. And we should now have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. My goodness. It is absolutely lovely. Most definitely love the color changes there. We do have an actually link to the Hirschner's website. So let's pop over. Because, in fact, Hirschner's is allowing me to see this. Worsted Halloween Sparkle. It's even on sale right now. You save $2. I probably won't because of the cash I will have to pay to get it shipped here. No, I don't want your ads. So it is 8 ounces to 498 yards, so 126 grams to 248 meters. Well, that's definitely thicker than I thought. I would think I know yarns with this, but looking at it like this, it's definitely thicker. So the polyester is the sparkle blend. Is it like glow in the dark as well, or is it just a classic sparkle? It's a bit difficult to see. Probably a classic sparkle. Looks nice though. Sure does. How do sparkles look? So we do, yep, specs. So I wondered how the variegation looked around. There was the proof, and it's just regular specs. Other colorways are available. Do they celebrate much Halloween in the Netherlands? Nope, not really. They do, like, some people do, but it's more an American tradition. Some people do the regular pumpkin carvings and so on, but it's not like something that's a big celebration here. I think it's also because the trick and treat hasn't really gotten extremely much out, and they do something similar to the trick or treating during St. Martin Day, which is basically what we in Denmark call Mortens Aften, and that is 1 or 2 weeks later than that's on November 11th. So it's not something that's done a lot here. Let's see, 2, 4, 8 before 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and normally I would insert the thingy, but I just need 11 because, as I said, when I work in the round and when I collect them, I find if I have the last stitch working in together with the first stitch, it makes a much nicer closing. So it's quite soft for a sparkle yarn. Yeah, Fastelavn is a more common Danish thing for trick and treating. They do have carnival here too, because Fastelavn here is more considered carnival. They don't go trick and treating for that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. I never did much trick and treating when I was a kid for Fastelavn, I have to admit. It was more a couple of neighbors, and that was kind of it. Um, but I wasn't a big fan of it. I'm still not really a big fan of it, to be honest. I don't know. If why, I don't know. So we have 80 stitches, 81 technically, but so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna remove the end. I'm gonna add my other needle, and we are gonna start working. Good morning, Megan. Um, so yeah, I guess I think part of it was also I didn't have any friends that would go trick and treat with me around. So I just never did much of it. Um, I tried once and it was not very cool on your own. Um, yeah, my best friends weren't living that close, or they had other friends they went trick and treating with because of different age groups, classmates, etc. So yeah, it was just not something I did a lot. Yeah, I don't know why else. So we have 80 stitches, and we are gonna attempt working those in the round. Ta ta ta. Pull out a bit more yarn here. But yeah, I remember all the Fastelavn är mitt namn, bara vill jag häva. So I remember all the songs and everything, but I just personally didn't do much with it. And that's in February. Reverend says, when I was growing up, we were that house when it came to Halloween. Took us a full week to get everything up, but we had good candy dryers, fog music lights, cobwebs, and a coffin with a vampire. Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. One of my friends, he's a Texan. Maybe that's the thing, Texans. But he really makes up a great garden. Like he has a crazy. He starts 2 weeks before Halloween, slowly starting to put everything up. It's crazy when you see his final setup. I have to say it looks awesome. And the same I have the feeling for Christmas, but the thought of doing it myself is just no. I'll rather enjoy watching it um, by other people. So we have officially started, and this is the first row is always a little bit. It's just a simple rip knit, and I don't know, but I am probably just doing the European way of doing things, or continental. I'm not sure what it's called. Don't ask me. It's just how I'm taught, or was taught back when I was a child. So we did regular, and always the first round is such an iffy because there isn't much done yet. So it always takes me a bit longer to go through. There was the first stitch marker to help me count. I can take that one off. I don't need that one anymore. And I am a little tiny bit focused here. This is the very first, by the way. You are now having the premiere of me knitting live. This is a first, my friends. It's a first. I do know outside decorations for Christmas. I did my time in the light mines and I have no desire to double my electric bill. Yeah, no, I don't blame you, especially for the electric prices. Um, I have mad respect for those who does the decorations every year. Um, but yeah, I do personally also not have any desire of it myself. So we have the first 20 stitches done. Revenant is going to alert the press. Yes, it is. Right now, live, Stina's knitting, which is definitely not something happening very often. We are probably just going to get this one started and then maybe we can go back to the crocheting. But yeah, we got the cast on done and we are slowly getting through this first round. And as I said, it's just this is there is nothing to it. It's a classic rib knit. So knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. What I'm doing. Or in Danish, we would call it rat wang, which is basically right side, wrong side, right side, wrong side. So it's not super fancy. I do have this idea. I'd like to at someday. I do want to try knit a sweater. I did actually see a sort of a bolero, short sleeve bolero that was a combination of knit and crochet. I may need to look closer into that, and then I may consider that as a future option for a bigger variable piece. I have this idea that I did something wrong somewhere. No, I didn't. It's just because it's the first round. Call the crochet police. I hate Danish knitting terms. Right, wrong, right, wrong. Yeah. I don't know how else to say it, but it is basically right, wrong, right, wrong. um, that is basically the Danish terms for knit and purl. Meanwhile, I do have a pattern in mind I'm going to attempt at some stage. But that is probably me having to design, which means that it's not gonna be with this yarn for sure, because this yarn is honestly not as easy to knit with as it looks nice. And I also think what I have in mind is better in a that I almost got pulled too much out of. I hate the first row because the thought of dropping a stitch now would be anything but nice. And the first round, I think, is just so easy by accident to drop a stitch because it's all so closely adjoined in the bottom. Yeah, that is a genuine fear. I do have the feeling that something is wrong. I think it isn't. We'll find out. It is. I did something wrong somewhere. Okay, it's just one stitch. I'm not really gonna be bothered. It's. I probably did. I think I have the feeling I did 2 pearls, or I can't count. It's also possible, by the way. Um. Always look wonky in the first round. Yep, it definitely does. Pearl stitch sounds so delicate, like purr and pearl together. Yep. But yeah, so maybe my first round is having an extra pearl stitch somewhere. But as I said, next round we'll have that fixed. So if that is going to be the case, then that is going to be the case. I am not going to be too biased about it. And if it's not the case, then I didn't count enough stitches and I will have to frog regardless. Because or I'll need to take one stitch out, because I do need 80 to make how I'm going to close it off correct. Ta-ta! But looking at how I just did this one, I don't know. No, it's I have a wrong stitch. I do. It's what it is. Actually, I have a bunch of wrong stitches because I am not running the right ones right now. So I probably should knit back. I should knit back. I don't want to do this. But I am. Because the reality is I did something wrong somewhere. Somewhere down here. Here, I think. Okay. On the other hand, it's good practice in knitting backwards. Oh my goodness. And a proof that I'm definitely not a good enough knitter to do it on a live stream. But I also know if I don't do it now, then I'm not sure if I will get it done later. So now we're just doing it to get it done. Damn it. Because knitting back, especially here on the first row, is really a keep track of your stitches project as well. But so far, and I should have done it as soon as I thought it's not right. I should have started knitting back. I would have done me a favor. But this is where I can very easily say learning by doing. This is correct. Quite sure it happens somewhere around there. Oh my. Knitting crocheting is having the will to ask yourself, can I count? And having the strength to realize the answer is no. Yes. The thing is, I would normally be able to count. And I'm like math was definitely my strongest subject in school, and still is, even though I speak 4 languages. But yeah, um, this yarn is just as a pain to crochet backwards with as it is to frog. But I would almost say this still goes easier than frogging. Uh, 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 uh. That seems right enough. That seems right enough. There is somewhere. Let me just have a good look at this from the very beginning to the very end. So far that is good. Maybe I just couldn't count when I cast on. That would have been even more horrible, wouldn't it? Purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Here. There. I'm almost far enough back. Found it. Because these few are the same, so I'm probably going to do 6 more stitches back, and then I am going to count to see if it aligns with what I have on the other side. Remind me next time, double check. I used to conversational German, but I didn't use it for more than 20 years. I just have a few phrases left. Could probably get it back. Now a bit of kitchen Spanish. Used to pick up Spanish working in restaurants. Okay. Oh no. Oh, saved by the bell. I almost lost my stitch there. Goodie. So we do have a regular knit stitch there. So we need to do purl, knit, purl. Just gonna count here. Regular stitch, so purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, knit, purl, knit. Is that the same? It was. Jesus. I'll count from the other end. That's much better. uh, Sabi says, I just speak Danish, English, German, and German fluent, but I understand Norwegian and Swedish fine, and little differences here from having a family in Norway and Sweden. I speak Danish, English, Dutch fluent, more or less German fluent, not completely fluent, but pretty good. Norwegian and Swedish because of, well, we have friends in all countries. Lisa says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Lisa. The European tendency of apologizing for only speaking 5 languages. Now, most of us actually just speak 2 or 3. In Denmark, you would minimum speak 2 and understand more. And the reason for that is Danish is such a little country with such a tiny language, so it's obligatory in school to have more languages. Ah, gotcha. Mors has a high level of tourism, and therefore, it's quite important to be able to speak German. So I am just gonna say this is going to be with the next stitch. I'm just gonna do temp counting here. Then I do have, so that's Rats. And then if I do every two has to be Rats, Rats, Rat, Rat, Rats, 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 Rats. Yes, I think I fixed it. My goodness, knitting back is not a favorite thing of mine on the first row. So we start by doing a purl to get back on track here, and then it's just purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. So I may have to just keep focused for a little bit. So I don't need to go back again, because I would really be sad having to do this twice. Lisa says she speaks Spanish, enough Spanish to function, but wouldn't say fluent and understand some Plattdeutsch. If you understand some Plattdeutsch, you probably might even understand some Dutch. Because that, my friends, is somewhat similar to one another. To speak fluent Dutch, you need a really good throat infection. Because they do have letters all the way in the back, like the pronunciation of the Dutch jaarbrand scheepjes. Scheepjes, scheepjes. I think I just, yeah, I need to do a purl. Knit. Purl. Knit. I really want to keep track on you guys, but right now I'm so focused that I'm not doing my counting mistakes. It should be easy to count to 2, right? 3 languages are mandatory in Denmark, but I believe you come to 7th grade, you can choose to switch your German to French or even add it. I didn't know it was 3. So back when I went to school, it was just 2 of them. Mandatory English and Danish. That said, if you do want to go to high school and you want a longer education, like university, yes, then 3 is mandatory. But you're very well made aware if you, for example, don't take German or French, either or, then you're not going to get into high school. Dutch is a very unserious language. I love it. It's lovely. So the only thing is, I have to say, when we do compare languages, let's see, this was, I need to look again. Yeah, I need to do purl. I would say, don't I? No, that looks the same. That looks better. Doesn't it? Now I'm in doubt. Fuck. Ah, goodness. You need a throat infection for Plattdeutsch too. Everyone says Danish and Dutch is very much the same. Have it confused. They don't know what Danish sound like when they just think you speak Dutch in Denmark. That's very true. Rat, 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 rat. Yeah, well, I'm still good. Ladies and gentlemen, I am just, for the sake of my own sanity, gonna catch up and chat once I have finished those last few stitches here, because clearly, if I try to multitask and do both, I fail. And now I am just gonna be slightly bit ever so selfish to ensure I won't fail. And I think that's okay, actually. It's not that far. I'm almost there. I am getting there. Almost. And if I've done this correct, then we should get out. We are. Awesome. Fuck no. No. No, 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 no. Oh my crickety crackety crickety crackety. There. I did it again. It was when I thought I did the mistake, and then I thought I didn't make the mistake, but yeah, I did the mistake. We'll knit backwards again, but it's not as far as last time. Dutch is so throaty, sounds like great though, if you ask me. I don't know. I'm not even close there. But if you listen to my accent, my Dutch accent, that is, when I do speak Dutch, compared to when I spoke Dutch, let's say 10 years ago, then yes, my accent has gotten much more Dutchy. But that's also not illogical, because when I do speak Dutch, I speak Dutch with Dutch people who just naturally have this throat infection, which they disagree with, of course, that they have a throat infection, but that is just basically what they do. So we can argue with them forever there. So I need to go a few more stitches back. So it's not as far back as last time, but clearly I cannot fully knit without paying attention, because the result is this. Me needing to knit back. Let's see, it is 2 more stitches. I did at some stage apparently 2 purl stitches in a row, and that doesn't give you a knit purl effect. Because here we did purl, and I just did purl in the other row, so we can start again with knit, and then we purl, and we knit, and we purl, and we knit. Oopsie daisy. And we purl, and we knit, and then we purl again, and then we knit one more time. Then it's time for purl, and I do apologize for this, but apparently I have to do that to prevent even further knitting back. And it's time for another knit stitch, and we purl, and we knit, and we purl, and we knit, and we purl, which is supposed to be a purl stitch. Hallelujah. Oops. And then we have one knit stitch left, but that stitch is very last stitch of this round. And what I'm going to do with that is I am going to knit that together with the to collect my round. So now I'm looking at this and I'm like, should I have used the other wire regardless? I'll find out. It could be changed. I graduated in 2002 and I went to HUF and I only had to have 3. I graduated in 2004 and we had to have, so we're probably about the same age actually. But I went to, 2003, 2004 approximately. So I started elementary school in 1990 and I finished in summer 2001, 2, around the same. Good gracious. In the August 1990s when I started in 0th klasse. But that's how we had it at our school. I think English is the only mandatory or obligatory course next to Danish, language-wise, and then you're recommended to take German or French if you want to go to high school. Happy days, I am now back to the rest out of frocking back. Only 4 more stitches to go back to where I was. Way to go! But yeah, it was a painful frog. Lisa is frocking the heel of her sock and asking what I'm making. I started on my beanie, rib knit beanie, and I already frocked back before the live because I realized I had to downsize my needles. I thought it was a bit too airy. And I wanted more stitches in the round, which I have here. Yeah. So so that is basically what I am doing. So it is new hat. Sabi says I started in 1993 and skipped moved 1 class up due to moving an education level. So I was 14 when I graduated in 9th grade. Okay, so the difference here is I started earlier in school than I was supposed to. I started a year earlier, so I was supposed to first start in 1991. But I was so talkative about school and I wanted to go to school because all of my friends from the kindergarten was going to school, that my parents ended up signing me into school, even though they were advised not to send me to school, basically. And I did fine. I never had to go back a class or go down a class. I wasn't forwarded a class either. So I was 15 when I stopped. That would have been summer 2000. But that would have been 9th grade. What I did do is I also took 10th grade because I wasn't 100% ready to go to high school. Plus, most of my classmates also wanted to do the 10th grade. It was very popular at our school to do 10th grade. So it was more like, of course I'll do 10th grade. So I did 10th grade. And that is why it was autumn 2001. Any new shawls on the horizon? Well, I am working on the Ultimate Sacrifice shawl. I just decided to cast on this because we spoke about the yarn and everybody was like, oh, that's gorgeous. And now we cast it on. And now, my friends, I forgot to put a stitch marker on. So I can go back again. It's really not my day for knitting, is it? Stitch marker to mark the very last stitch, or should I say the beginning of the round? Because this, my friends, is a knit, and then it's knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl all the way around. My goodness. But yeah, as I said, when the first tricky part is done, it goes so much smoother. So it's just really that first row is a pain in my rear to do. Because now you can see it all already goes a bit smoother. So what I'll do is I'll finish this round and we'll find the shawl again, but I just like to have the whole round complete. Have a great day, Revenant. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. It will be next week, Wednesday, when I'll pop back live, unless, of course, there's the spontaneous live in between, which I am not completely sure about because I have quite a few things on my agenda. So next week, Wednesday, is when I plan on being live again around the same time, so around 2ish p.m. Central European time. So that would be 7 a.m. Texan time. Should you want to join in. Sabi says I did the EUC VUC 10th grade and HF single classes simultaneously. Otherwise, I would have to take 10th grade at the elementary school, but VUC let you take them together in 6 months with 4 more HF classes. Okay, I didn't know that, actually. I didn't do the HF. I went to HTX. So I did the technical high school. And I wanted to become a veterinarian back in the days. That did not happen. Because I basically didn't put enough attention into my school at high school to get the grades I needed to get into veterinarian school. Because I spent more time shooting. That said, I very much appreciate everything that I've experienced over the time and what I've gotten from doing top sport. I would not trade it for anything. Also, had I become a veterinarian and had I not traveled the world, I would definitely not have met my current partner because I met him through sport. That would have been a whole different life. Probably not been on YouTube and learning you guys either. So in the end, I guess it's okay. I am not unhappy with the end result, so to say. Lisa says, signed my daughter and I up for doing a drop spindle class in October. Oh, that looks awesome. Sounds awesome. I'm gonna look forward to see some yarns. Sabi says, did HTX later in Ringsted and Køge. I did my HTX in Holbæk. So that is where I did my high school technical school exam. I loved the HTX part where I really enjoyed having technique as a course because you were like forced to think about it. Like the first assignment we ever had was like explain on paper how to tie a shoelace, and basically afterwards anything. And there was a few terms you weren't allowed to use, like the person that was going to follow instruction did not understand the word knot and did not understand the word loop. So that was absolutely awesome because afterwards our teacher would follow our instructions to the dot and would show how you would need to think to elaborate things. And they really also taught me how to write an extremely good um, thesis, like long-term project description and everything. That is all HTX, where I learned and hoovered those skills. Um, they would instantly say if it's not good enough, and we would have to fix it before we could even get the basic stats of a project approved. Um, so I really learned to think in a different way there. I got my degree as a data fagtekniker. Not sure what it is in English, but it's like data technical person, computer technician. Yeah. And Sabi says she wants to try that with the yarns, but so maybe that is your next little project, I guess. I wanted to try dye yarn, but I've also come to the conclusion that dyeing yarns is probably not something I have the room to do, because you need to be able to dry it and all that stuff, and I just don't have the room for all that. The batches would be so small that I'm not really sure if it would be actually worth it. Guess what? I made the round, so what I'll do is I'll do grab on that stitch marker and I'll do make quickly that first 1 or 2 stitches, because it does help keeping that stitch marker on where it should be. We got the first 2. The first 2 rows. It looks much better than when I had it on my 7mm. Woohoo! I'm happy. Just closing down those stitch markers. I don't need those anymore. My only thought is if I would be better off, or I have a wire that's just an inch shorter, if that would have been better. Maybe. We were on the crochet aspect. Can't believe I only did that in an hour when it came to knitting. This is why I generally prefer crocheting. It goes much quicker for me. I'm getting my spinning wheel next week, and a friend gave me a raw fleece already, but I'm not going to even try that for some time. The raw fleece, you would probably need to wash or treat somehow, because else it's gonna be like, it has lots of these natural oils and linolene in it, and that is gonna be not so fun. So you'll need to treat it if it's not been treated already. Wow, I feel this goes so much different. That said, I have the knitting bit prepared, so who knows, I may knit on it a little bit later, but we are back to the crochet bit, which is the Ultimate Sacrifice shawl. And I am on it with a 3.5mm crochet hook. And I see I did get a text message, but my mom who sent it to me also knows that I will reply when I have time, which is probably going to be after this live. That makes most sense. Let's see. So it needs a lot of work. It got a bunch of lanolin and straw and other materials in it. Yeah, that's what I meant by it probably needs quite a bit of work. Yep. But it's cool though. A raw fleece. That is cool. There is something to it. Like if you can really make everything from basics and scratch, that it just has. I guess you have a whole different level of appreciation. Like if you knit a sweater from yarn where you washed the fleece and you spun the fleece and all that stuff, I think it gives a different level of appreciation. Like you do already when you finish a sweater have a big level of appreciation because you know how much work was put into it. But I have a feeling then that somehow when you also have to create the yarn yourself, that the appreciation level is much higher. There was some stage where I was wondering if I should use scrap yarns and then just make one big pile and then try to spindle scrap yarn, which you can technically with all sorts of materials. But you also need to pick and cut that. I've seen that done successfully, and part of me was really thinking, oh, that could be so cool to do. But I also genuinely, no, I don't think I have the patience for it. I really don't think I have the patience for it. um, but I have mad respect for the people who do. I think I'm just being honest, concluding. Oh, this looks so weird. There. Alba says she hopes to get a card of Christmas, one of those electrical ones. So like the card mills, you have those small electrical ones. Or are you thinking manual? I think the electrical ones are nice, the small ones. Which is where I'm like back to I was thinking of, but at the same time, I don't think it's a good idea at all because I have so many ideas I think would be great. But reality is, I don't think I have time to do it, nor the patience. So it's just, I love the idea, but nope, it's not gonna happen. I once saw a YouTuber who specialized basically in taking her scrap yarn, so like all the tails and so on that you have over after you've weaved in tens and cut those tails. She basically takes that and scratches that completely out and cuts it out and respins it. All sorts of materials. Um, and I think it's awesome. I believe it was French crafter. I think it's an awesome idea. Um, but no, I no. The amount of scraps you need plus just the patience level to, you know, cut, etc., and then spin it. Yeah, no. Depends on the price. If I get a manual one, my hubby is mechanical enough that he could convert it to electric. Oh, that's a good thing. You have a good husband. Mine probably would be too. He's also a technical guy. Um, technical, practical. Oopsie daisy. No, I don't need to go into the stitch. I need to go into the gap. This goes so much quicker than knitting. But you did see on my second row, I was knitting remarkably quicker than the first row where I had to pay so much attention. I need to do an increaser in the tip. So that is what I'll do. And when it comes to dinner today, we have leftovers from yesterday. So dinner is an easy make tonight. Me like that. We are having pasta, spinach, salmon, cream sauce, something. And yeah, as I said, we have the leftovers from yesterday. So dinner tonight is easy. We all like something easy. The benefits of leftovers is the swiftness of being able to create things. If he isn't, we employ a few mechanics, fabricators that could figure it out. Also a good thing. And given the fact that I do understand you guys have a little bit extra time on your hands, you could probably get one of them to do that. But I rather hope you get some extra jobs in for the business. I normally have an event also in September. Well, normally earlier it was in April, but now it's moved to September, where I go with my business. But I haven't heard from them at all this year, so I don't know if they're going to do it or what's going to happen. We'll see. And else I just have my event in December. Yep, rather have them working than working on your stuff. Because in the end, that's turnover. Working on your stuff is just costing money, technically seen. Something went wrong. Interesting. So yeah, we'll just crack along here and conclude that knitting live. Yes, today was a first. If I'm any good at it, probably I need to have the project started. That's making for easier knitting, should I get there. Yep. That is definitely the better option. The technician, the mechanics is usually busy all winter during construction shutdown, doing all the maintenance on all the machines, which makes absolutely great sense, right? Because everything needs maintenance to last longer. Even our body needs maintenance. That is why I visit my physiotherapist once a month. I should have an appointment next week, and right now my body is already saying, yes, please. And why is it a week to go? But he kind of makes sure that I'm kept in a bit of tip-top shape, or as close as I can be, I guess. Anyhow, we are cracking along ever so nicely here. Crocheting is definitely a complete other beast for me than knitting. Well, during construction season, most things get a bit of a band-aid fix, but then during winter they get fixed properly. So basically what we can say, the band-aid fix, like the bush fixes, like when you need to get creative fixes, just need it solved so the machinery works if it breaks. And hopefully it just doesn't break at all. Kind of concept. Exactly. That's, I guess, when you're also used to being, there are some things you can't do in winter due to weather. Lately, I saw a program. I didn't get lots of explanation of it, but it was more like the intro for a program that was going to come, saying there are researcher concerns that the Gulf Stream will stop flowing towards the northern bit of Europe. Right now, the Gulf Stream in the Gulf Stream in the Atlantic Ocean is what helps us keep warmer in winter. And there is some expectations that if we do not decrease emissions, and I'm talking about the CO2 emissions, etc. If we do not decrease these emissions, then there is a likelihood that the Gulf Stream will fall away. And the result of this will be colder weather for Northern Europe, but also it will become not just colder, it will also become more dry, which means more likely for harvests to fail. And if it gets there in my lifetime, I might have to move because I'm not good with cold and dry. But cold and dry is better than cold and very wet, because that is like really cold. Where cold and dry, like if the air is dry, but it has to be snow on the ground, then it's not as cold as if it's just cold and rainy. Ugh. Bottom line is, I'm not sure if I would like it if it ends up going where they predict, but that's like in 50 years from now, maybe. We should be mindful of our Earth. He says, I'm not good with cold either. Part of the reason why we go south in January. I don't blame you. I had a dream which kind of got even more sparked. So when we were in New Zealand 2.5 years ago, we actually, during our visit to the Southern Island, bumped into a Dutch person who said that he was living the Dutch summer in the Netherlands and the Dutch winters in New Zealand. So he was traveling back once every spring and autumn. He went back and forth. And I'm like, yeah, I could definitely see myself doing that, with the only exception of the fact there's a prize thingy related to this. The fact of flying back and forth, but also all the money you have to pay for either being one place or the other place is quite ridiculous, actually. But who knows? I don't know. Maybe I'll have all that money in 20 years' time, when it's relevant. Would I do it? Maybe. I do remember that winter. It didn't feel as long when we had been down there for the 4 weeks. So I don't necessarily maybe need 6 months, but if I could do the summer months or so, I would be up for doing that. So we are back to the tips. The tips all the way to the end here. And then technically we can go ahead and weave in those ends. And what I did learn from last time is that I will not cut the ends before I've woven in both of the ends, because then there is no chance that I can cut the wrong. I still don't get how I did it though, but it happened. Some people, it's more common for the retired people now these days, especially here in the Netherlands, that they will have like an apartment in either Spain or Portugal that they go back and forth between, which is a much shorter travel than New Zealand. So I would not be too condemning on that either. I think it's also economically seen cheaper. The cost of living, I have the feeling, is cheaper in Spain and Portugal than they might be in New Zealand. And the tickets would definitely be a lot cheaper to travel back and forth. So it's less time, less everything. I'm just not sure Spain talks to me as good and as much as New Zealand. New Zealand was really, I could live there, definitely. But of course, it was easy because it was like 4 weeks of just enjoying ourselves, traveling around, not needing to worry about money, in the sense of not needing to worry about work, because we had already worked before we left. But I'm afraid that would be a different story if you technically live there. The area of Mexico where we go to is not touristy at all. It's actually cheaper for us to be there than home, and I watch for sales and flights. That's a good plan. I also look out for prices on flights. So when I travel, just when I travel to Denmark, which I've done like a lot lately, right? I look at the prices for travels and I'll just pick the cheapest flights depending on departure times. Because I know if I arrive too late in Denmark, I'm not gonna ask my dad to pick me up around midnight at the airport or at the train station, because it's not fair. So I'm never gonna do that. So within the reasonable time travel times, which would work either for getting to and from the airport, and then I look at the cheapest prices. But I have the benefit that I live between two bigger airports, and I can just pick the airport with the cheapest option. So that is what I do. Literally, I pick the cheapest. Sabi says, sorry, mom keeps calling. I'll have to run. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day, you too. It was wonderful to see you again. I'll be back on Wednesday, because on Monday is my Monday off Monday. I'm doing other things on Monday. I am heading to the fitness center Monday, was my plan. If I can get a time for the agreement I had. We're doing these body tests and so on. So I'm going to see if I actually made any progress. The weight scale isn't too convinced. But I do hope that I exchanged some fat for some muscle mass. And the best place to check that would basically be to go there and get that done. I did have a plan for doing that later next week, but it's just not as convenient as if I could do it Monday afternoon. Of course, also, I should be heading out probably like tonight. 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, it's good. We're skipping 4. For us to get to Espada, Mexico, it requires a journey, an hour and a half drive to the airport, usually 2 flights, and then 4 to 5 hour bus ride. That is quite a journey indeed. But if you got a place where it is not as touristy, I guess that is helpful. Where we were, like where the family lives in New Zealand, my partner's family, that is not super touristic either. But some of the places we went to obviously had their fair share of tourists, which is fair enough. But it was really, I really enjoyed the experience, and we also optioned to take a flight. So we were talking about we could take a car and drive down because we talked about renting a car. But we ended up getting flight tickets all the way because my partner's cousin were like, yeah, but we have an extra car, you can borrow that. And we were like, oh yes, please, because we would just only have to fuel the car, and we wouldn't have to worry about the actual renting cost, which was actually a really, really kind offer. So we were obviously super appreciative of that. And yeah, definitely keen to come down south another time. But we have a whole house to renovate also. And we may need to consider doing that first, unless somebody wins the jackpot in the lottery. Or I sell all my yarn, which is not gonna happen. I think it's a city of about 750,000 people, and usually we don't see any other Caucasian people. Still, with that many people, I'm surprised they don't have an airport. I guess. But on the other hand, none of the local ones here doesn't either. So, yeah. I still need to drive an hour and 20 minutes to get to one of the big airports. There's a smaller one, but the times they offer on flights suck. Literally. And they won't give me free luggage. Quite important thing, I would say. So I would have to pay extra for the luggage, and then it's just about as expensive as taking the other flight, or even more expensive. And then I don't know if it's worth it. I'll have to do some math at some stage. I would have to ask customer support how that will work, because the flight that then would go to Copenhagen is a smaller subsidiary of those I have my miles with, so some of the benefits count and some of them don't. It's Mexico, the infrastructure sucks. Fair enough. There are some things where you get a complete different sense of understanding. There isn't that many highways either in New Zealand. It's more like country roads, except for the northern part of the island, a bit closer to some of the bigger cities. But generally, highways aren't something that is a common, popular thing there. So that was definitely different compared to driving here in Europe. There are places in the Netherlands, if you get closer to Amsterdam, there are six track highways, like there are six lanes, right? Which is also that is on the verge of being too big for me and my comfort as well. It's like 5 or 6 lanes. I already think 3 or 4 are big, too big. But I get it, when there's lots of traffic, you need more lanes to get the whole traffic flowing more smoothly. We have a place which is basically a roundabout, but it has light crosses or light road lights in it, and it has three lanes as well. So there you also really need to keep track. But if you're in the right lane from when you enter it, it's easy enough. But if you aren't, well, good luck. You may not end up where you wanted to end up. That said, Dutch infrastructure is pretty decent. Belgium is sucky. The roads are like bumpy, holy. I don't know, like there's too many gaps in the roads there. Small gaps, small crevices, where you're like, how can this even be safe? If you cross the border from the Netherlands to Belgium, there isn't a place to check passports. It's just like you drive straight through. But you instantly feel when you are on the Belgian side of the border. You can just hear it in your car when you're driving. That is the difference on the road. It's that visible, so to say. We are almost through. That's nice. That also probably means when I'm done with this row, we are somewhere at the end of this live stream. 2, 4, 6, or very close. Now I need to keep a little bit track on what I'm doing because I do have these ends that I temporarily put a little knot on to keep track of. So I just need to pay a little bit attention. First we need to do the 2 double crochets, chain 2 double crochets in the space. And then we have 5 more stitches before that very last stitch. And now I really need to pay attention. I need to get in that tiny stitch there. Then on the other side, there. Goody. We got through this. Two, 4, 6, 7, and then we'll need the treble in the very, very end. Treble. Here we go. And I am gonna just put in both stitch markers here because it is 3 minutes to 5, which basically means we are so very close at the end. What I should do is I should pop up here and show you guys how far we got. Just as a last thing, right? Now I have the feeling, I don't know, that my other one is more clear. Maybe it is, maybe it is. It's a little bit more dark, that's the reason. Oh, that was too much. There we go. Let's try this. We are here. As you can see, we are growing. And my estimate is we still have like 200, 250 meters to add. So it is becoming nice and big. I am definitely pleased with the progress. I still hope to finish this week. That said, I can see based on what I have left that I will definitely need to crank out some stuff this weekend if that's gonna succeed. But who knows? Maybe it will be possible. Maybe. We get to go away this weekend. We rented cabins and are going fishing. Oh, that sounds wonderful. I wish you an absolutely great weekend then. I don't have the biggest plans for the weekend. Yet. That may change. But right now, no. I guess that's good. Maybe. Time to catch up on things. What I'm going to say right now is I am going to say thank you so much for watching. If you have watched this live all the way to the end here and rewatched this, thank you so much for your support. I am absolutely very happy for that. It means the world to me. And I had a wonderful time spending time in your company. So I will be back on Friday with a yarn talk video. And of course, I'll be back next week, Wednesday, with the new live. But if everything goes right, Tuesday, I should pop in with Decrease My Stash for August updates. Just a short little quick video. So thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy crafting. Until I see you again. Bye.